Joining us now is Kristen Toller, who is the Executive Director of Plantation. We're going to talk about some of the exciting things that are going on here and also maybe hear some ghost stories.
Yes.
We'll start off with telling us a little bit about Plantation, how long it's been there, and what people can see when they go, and then we'll kind of lead into the ghost story piece.
Plantation is a circa 1800 living history farm. Mm-hmm. It was a cotton plantation in the 1800s up until the end of the Civil War. And we're located in the 1,300-acre Plantation Nature Preserve. Mm-hmm. When the park was founded in the 1970s, the historic site was the centerpiece of it. Today it's expanded, so our neighbors are the Carolina Raptor Center, the Latta Equestrian Center, and a nature center as well. Mm-hmm. The historic site does field trips for about 13,000 kids a year. We have summer camp programs, we do birthday parties, and we do a lot of special events on the weekends for families and all different types of ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've actually been there on a field trip, and my kids loved the candle making. They actually they used to make candles because they didn't have lighting back then.
Yeah.
Great.
There's different tours for different themes. Like I went to one that was like the Sweetheart Tour around Valentine's Day, and it's neat.
And now, what's planned for Halloween? And as far as you've got the ghost stories and ghost tales.
Since we're an old house, naturally one of the most popular questions we get from visitors is Latta haunted? Of course, that's something everyone wants to know. And I think almost everyone that's either volunteered there or worked there or had a relationship with the site has some kind of story to tell in relationship with that. So because people are so interested in it, we have several ghost events during October. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do them other times of the year as well. But in October we have something called Ghost Tales in the Dark, and it runs 2 weekends leading up to Halloween, and people can come and hear real ghost stories and also hear EVPs and evidence from a ghost hunting group that has a relationship with the site as well. So they get to hear firsthand experiences. And then when Halloween comes, it's on a weekend this year, so it's perfect timing. We have a ghost hunt that is open to the public. It's by pre-registration only. We still have some slots left for the 31st. And they go around with a group called the North American Paranormal Society and go on a real ghost hunt.
So what kinds of things have people experienced?
Or sightings? Are there actual sightings?
Sightings or noises or feelings, or what is it?
I think feelings and noises are probably the most common. One of the most common things we hear from visitors and that staff has talked about is feeling like someone's following you down the stairs. That may be one of those things you feel anytime you, you come down the stairs. But that's very common. We'll have people turn around to talk to someone and no one's there, but they say someone had put their hand on their shoulder, that type of thing. One thing that happened to me several years ago, and I wouldn't really claim to believe in ghosts per se, but there's some things you can't explain. We were getting ready for our Candlelight Christmas event. It's probably about 5 years ago, and I was decorating downstairs. And for about 10 or so minutes, I heard who I thought was our farm manager walking back and forth. He's a big guy, heavy footsteps, upstairs. So he used to go eat at the same place every day and for lunch. And I asked him, I yelled up there, I asked if he was going to lunch because I wanted to place a lunch order, and he never answered. So I went upstairs. I assumed he couldn't hear me. I had even been hearing the drawers on the dressers open and close, which I started to think was strange because we don't touch the antiques unless we're cleaning them. And there was no one there. And that was the only time I've ever really felt, not uneasy, but okay, I think I'll leave the house.
Yeah, right.
I'll come back a little bit later.
So is the assumption that these ghosts are people who had lived in the house?
Some people feel that way. Some people say, oh, I think it's Mr. Latta or Mr. Sample. It's different families that have lived in the house over the years.
There are certain names being attached to the ghosts.
Yes, sometimes. And then NAPS, the ghost hunting group that has worked with us, they seem to think it's something called a residual haunt. So it's not necessarily an active ghost running around the house in the site. Almost, and they could explain this better than I can, but almost like not a memory or an energy that keeps replaying itself over and over again. So you might hear the sound of children running across back and forth in the attic, which is a common sound there. And so what they say is, well, that's just because for years kids ran back and forth across the attic.
So it's a residual.
Right.
So will they bring equipment to do this, or do they?
They do. They bring in digital cameras, digital recorders, and then digital voice recorders as well. And that's where the most interesting evidence has come up, with something they call an EVP. I think it's electronic voice phenomenon. And those are interesting because often when they're going through there, and I've been through with them a couple times, just out of curiosity, you don't hear anything. And when you go back and play the recording, it will pick things up that your ear can't hear.
Really?
But when you replay it, you hear other sounds in there.
So they've actually picked things up.
They have.
Have there been any visual sightings, or?
We have. They have seen things, but they have never caught anything as physical evidence.
Okay.
They haven't caught anything. No pictures or anything yet.
Oh, that's
Wow.
really interesting.
So now, what are some of your upcoming events for November?
We have some great family events coming up. November 7th, we have a Charlotte Gold Rush event. We have a Miner's Cabin. We'll have live music, some local root beer from Mooresville, Uncle Scott's.
Fun.
And kids can pan for gold and learn about the first real American gold rush, which was right in this area. And we have our Christmas events coming up. Thanksgiving weekend is a Plantation Christmas, and a Candlelight Christmas is the first weekend in December. Those are great family events.
That's great. Well, we have all those events on our events calendar on LKNSavings.com, or people can obviously go to the Latta Plantation website as well and find information there.
Anything else you'd like to tell the viewers, or?
Latta Plantation is a great place to come and visit. Not only the historic site, which of course is near and dear to my heart, but the whole park itself. It's a wonderful place to come, and
you could spend all day there.
Exactly.
Well, it's amazing to me how large it is. When you drive down that road that you get to, when you pass the Raptor Center and then the historic site is at the end of it. I mean, that's a pretty long. How many miles? I mean, it's several miles just to even get into the park.
Right. You drive down Sample Road, which dead ends into the park, which is over a mile, and then once you get into the park, it's a little over a mile and a half back. And it's surrounded by the Catawba River, now Mountain Island Lake. So there's beautiful views at all the trails everywhere you go.
Well, we'll have to have you come back on and talk about the Civil War camps too, and all, because those are amazing as well that you actually do out there on the plantation.
Yes, those are very fun.
My son has actually done those too. So, well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate it.